In today's Business Matters, Uber is launching a new women's preferences feature in the US. It will allow women riders to see a women drivers option when they request a ride on demand or in advance. Riders can also set a preference option, and women drivers will have the option to request trips with women riders, including during peak earning hours. The company says testing in overseas markets generated overwhelmingly positive feedback. The pilot feature is starting in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Detroit in the next few weeks. Summer is in full swing, but many Americans are already back to school shopping. According to a new survey from the National Retail Federation, 2/3 of Americans with school-aged children started shopping for the upcoming school year this month. That's the earliest on record. The survey found half of families are hitting the stores earlier this year over concerns tariffs could drive the prices of school supplies higher. Tariffs on most of U.S. trading partners are set to rise in August. Swiss healthcare company Roche is considering selling its prescription medications directly to customers in the U.S. This is part of its talks with the U.S. government. Its CEO said the model would work for all of its medications, but did not share additional details. The consideration comes after President Trump signed an executive order directing drug makers to lower medication prices to align with what other countries are paying. Skydance Media is taking two major commitments if the FCC clears its $8 billion Paramount Global merger. In letters to the agency, Skydance said it would investigate bias at CBS News and end diversity programs. Skydance said it's committed to eliminating Paramount's diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, noting that it does not and will not have any DEI programs. On top of that, Skydance said post-merger, it would do a comprehensive review of CBS News over complaints of bias and other concerns. It would appoint an ombudsman to investigate. Skydance also said it would ensure its news and entertainment would embody a diversity of viewpoints across political and ideological spectra. People who would have tried the prebiotic soda beverage Poppi could have money coming back to them. Previous owner VNGR Beverage LCC settled a class action lawsuit that claimed Poppi was improperly marketed as, quote, gut healthy. Court records show the company did not admit to any sort of wrongdoing in the settlement, but it will refund nearly $9 million to the public. More information, including the form to fill for a payment, is found at poppysettlement.com. There's a mix of good and bad news on the job front. First-time claims for jobless benefits have fallen to their lowest level in 3 months. An estimated 217,000 initial applications for unemployment benefits were filed during the week that ended July 19th. That marks the 6th straight weekly decline. But the data also indicates it's getting harder for people to find new jobs once they become unemployed. The number of continuing claims filed by people already receiving jobless benefits increased by 4,000 for the week that ended July 12th. Average home insurance policy costs across the country have gone up in the last year, and it's due to a variety of factors. We look at the rising costs and what you can do to try to save some money.
From ravenous wildfires to devastating tornadoes, natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more intense. Last year, there were 27 confirmed weather and climate disasters in the U.S., with losses exceeding $1 billion, according to NOAA. Because of this, many home insurance companies are raising policy rates.
There are more natural disasters happening, and they're affecting more homes.
Holden Lewis with NerdWallet says they recently conducted a survey among homeowners and found 54% said their premiums have gone up in the last 12 months. These rate hikes aren't specific to certain states, it's nationwide.
They end up having to pass along some of those costs to states that might have fewer natural disasters.
State Farm recently raised home insurance rates by an average of 27.2% in Illinois. They say it's because in 2024, for every dollar they collected from policyholders, State Farm paid out $1.26. State Farm said Illinois had the second highest hailstorm damage claims last year, totaling $638 million, telling CNN in part, Accurate risk-based pricing makes sure that insurers like State Farm can pay claims during some of life's toughest moments for policyholders.
Some of the most costly natural disasters are hailstorms.
Inflation and the rising cost of supplies is also contributing to higher premiums. But Lewis says there are things you can do to help lower your rates. Adding roof trusses or upgrading your garage door can help get a better rate. Also, installing fire alarms and security systems. And shop around to compare different companies' premiums.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is warning that TikTok will go dark in the U.S. if China does not approve the sale of the short-form video app. President Trump extended a deadline for Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest its U.S. assets of TikTok. In an interview, Lutnick said China or ByteDance could own a little piece, but Americans would have control of the technology and algorithm. He said if China doesn't approve the deal, TikTok will go dark, adding that those decisions are coming, quote, very soon. A deal to spin off TikTok's U.S. operations into a new U.S.-based firm stalled after trade tensions escalated. The TikTok deadline was extended to September 17th. The world's most valuable company is calling an effort to use smuggled AI chips for Chinese data centers a losing proposition. NVIDIA is addressing a report that at least $1 billion worth of its artificial intelligence chips entered China illegally. The Financial Times says it analyzed dozens of sales contracts and company files and spoke with multiple people with direct knowledge of deals. It found that NVIDIA's B200 chip has become widely available and popular in Chinese black market for American semiconductors. In response, NVIDIA said that data centers require service and support which it provides only for authorized NVIDIA products. The company warned those trying to use illegal chips, saying, quote, trying to cobble together data centers from smuggled products is a losing proposition, both technically and economically. The U.S. has restricted many computer chip sales to China, citing national security concerns, but the White House recently cleared sales to resume for NVIDIA H20 chips to China. This is a less powerful chip that was made to comply with earlier export controls. Meta has introduced new safety measures to protect kids and teens online. The parent company to Instagram says teen accounts have new safety features for direct messaging. They provide more context about the accounts they're engaging with, making it easier to distinguish if someone is a scammer. They can also see when other Instagram users joined the app, and there's a new block and report option where both actions can happen at the same time. Meta says some features were implemented in June, and teens have already used them to block and report millions of accounts. Tesla reported a double-digit drop in earnings for the second quarter following a record sales drop. The electric car company's adjusted net income was $1.4 billion. That's a drop of $419 million from 1 year ago. Sales of its best-selling Model Y and Model 3 fell 12% compared to a year ago, while sales of its more expensive cars, including the Cybertruck, plunged 52%. The drops have been attributed to Tesla CEO Elon Musk's political activities and increased competition for electric vehicles. The European Union and the Chinese Communist regime began a tense summit today, dominated by trade concerns and Ukraine. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen traveled to Beijing to meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. Here's more.
Expectations were low for the summit in the Chinese capital. It was built to mark 50 years of diplomatic ties after weeks of escalating tension and concerns over its format. Chinese state media reported Xi told European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen that current challenges facing Europe don't come from China. He further urged the EU to adhere to open cooperation after von der Leyen earlier called for a rebalancing of trade ties. She was likely referring to the EU's trade deficit with China, which rose to a historic $360 billion last year. EU trade actions in the past year have targeted Chinese exports of EVs, among other goods. Its officials have also complained about Chinese industrial overcapacity. At the talks, the Europeans are expected to raise topics including electric vehicles and China's rare earth export controls that disrupted supply chains worldwide.
America's first communications network, the U.S. Postal Service, is celebrating its 250th birthday this weekend. The Second Continental Congress established a postal system on July 26, 1775, 1 year before the Declaration of Independence. Today, the Postal Service has 640,000 employees, with more than half of them letter carriers. The USPS is commemorating the birthday with 2 sets of specialty stamps. One features an aerial view of a mail carrier walking her route in a busy town through the 4 seasons. The other set features the first ever Postmaster General, Benjamin Franklin. The stamps are part of a special booklet titled Putting a Stamp on the American Experience. A federal court in Texas said Verizon Wireless must pay $175 million for damages for violating an inventor's patent rights. The jury's decision in favor of Headwater Research comes just months after the firm secured a $278 million verdict in a patent dispute against Samsung in the same court. A Verizon spokesperson said that the verdict was simply not supported by the facts and that the company will appeal. Headwater said its patented technology allows wireless devices to reduce data usage and network congestion, extend battery life by decreasing power consumption, and enable users to stay connected. The company claims it's shared information about its technology with Verizon under a non-disclosure agreement and that Verizon's devices and networks infringed Headwater's patents. Verizon denied the allegations and argued that the patents were invalid. The historic Waldorf Astoria in New York City has undergone a full makeover. It took nearly a decade. Now it's opened its doors, and for the first time, you can own a part of the hotel. Here's more.
They call it the greatest of them all for a reason. It's because, some hotels, they just speak to you. And this hotel is an incredible soul. Imagine through over a century of tradition and all of that. So in essence, you walk in, you feel the energy already when you first walk in. And then now it's a hotel that is moving forward, that is writing a new chapter in the future.
A landmark on New York's Park Avenue. The Waldorf Astoria closed in 2017 for a full-scale restoration and renovation. Key elements of the hotel were preserved and historic artifacts remain. This includes the hand-cut marble Wheel of Life mosaic and a bronze clock that was commissioned by Queen Victoria. Managing Director Luigi Romagnello describes some of the work.
It's been such a great success story because everybody was waiting for it, but we had to do it absolutely right. You have to think about it. It hasn't been just a renovation; it's been a complete restoration. From the ground up. We worked on all the legacy ceilings and all the artwork, all the architectural detail. It required so many craft people to come in. It was just an incredible undertaking.
One major overhaul involved the rooms. The total number was slashed from 1,400 to 375 larger guest rooms and suites and 372 private residences.
So this is the very first time that you can actually own a piece of the Waldorf Astoria in New York. Before, it never happened before, so it's very, very exciting times.
The renovation project was one of the largest preservation and adaptive reuse efforts in New York City. The CEO of parent company Hilton on Thursday expressed optimism about the hospitality sector, noting early signs of rising demand.